Hey folks, welcome back to the channel, your home for all content Lord of the Rings home. Today we're going to be doing another Worth the Whale video. We're going to be talking specifically about Elrond. If you're new to the channel or if you haven't seen one of these videos before, basically the concept is I'm going to go over how much I spent on a particular character, what kind of average spending on a particular character is, and then we just discuss, was it worth it? And I think it's going to be important to talk about Elrond because he's the first legendary and deciding whether he was worth it, getting all the characters that you need to get him up. So first, let's talk about how much I spent. Basically, it was $200. So $20 packs for both Arwen and Elladan to go from 3 to 4 stars. And then I did 9,000, like 9 chest rolls for Arwen, and I believe 7 chest rolls for Elladan. So averaged out to 8, which is the average you expect to go from 4 to 5 stars. It's about $80 per. So it's about $200. I saw somebody claim in the official Discord that they just bought the two $20 packs for Arwen or Elladan or something like that, and then used gems and got lucky, and they unlocked Elrond for $40, which is insane. And I don't think that's going to happen every time. That's pretty crazy. But then, on the flip side of that, there's a content creator out there who wanted 7-star Elrond and dropped 1.5 grand to get a 7-star Elrond. So that's kind of the range of pay scales you got here. I spent $200. It seems like you could possibly do it if you get lucky at as low as like $40, probably even less than that, right? And then at the top end, it's like over $1,000 to get him to 7 stars. So here's my Elrond. As you can see, he's got gear 8, level 60. The skills are pretty maxed except for his leadership ability, which nobody can max right now, and his passive, his basic, which I will probably get up at some point when I have the gold and the purple mats to do so, like everybody else. We come to the big question. Was it worth it? And my answer is, well, that depends. And I know that sounds like a cop-out, like, oh, Swag, you're just saying that because you want to farm content. But in reality, I do really think it depends. And I think specifically for legendary characters, the question you have to ask is it worth it to spend that amount of money to get the legendary first time around? Because essentially what you're doing is you're making, in my case, a $200 bet. A $200 bet that you're going to get something good out of this legendary. And it's a bet because this is the first legendary, so we don't know how legendaries are going to fit into the meta. You don't know how they're going to perform in different game modes, and you're betting that the money you're spending is going to give you some sort of payoff, right? So first, let's talk about Arena. Soon as I got bundles, as soon as I got my Elrond Rivendell team up, I started pushing in Arena, and I got higher than I've ever gotten before. So I got into Champions 5. I'm in Shard 1. This is the highest I've ever been. I was pretty happy with that. And typically, this is kind of where I sit right now, which is sort of at the top of Mithril 1. And then if I make a good push, I can get into Champions 6, sort of sitting around there. But then I can't get much further to that. And so did I get an advantage in Arena? Yes, because you have to have Elrond right now to be at the top of all of the arenas. So I got an advantage there. The flip side of that, though, is that the increased gold currency or like revenue that I get as a consequence of being higher in the arena, I then have to flip around and turn right into resources to continue to level up my my Rivendell team, right? Because everybody else at the top of the arena is doing the exact same thing. They're pumping more resources into their Rivendell team. And if you don't do that, then you drop an arena. There's going to become a point, and I'm pretty much reaching it now, where I'm putting as much resources as I want to or that I can into these characters, and people are passing me because they have higher star levels on their characters. So I'm not willing to put a lot more into this particular team. I feel okay about my $200 investment on the arena side of things. I know there's a conversation around basically, people who pay for these characters expect an advantage in these games. And I think there's a good conversation to be had about how much money spent versus time and resourcefulness is a good balance. So can you do things as a free-to-play player, or are you just going to be completely outclassed? I would love to have that conversation at some point, but the reality is for this game right now, people who pay are expected to have an advantage, especially in the competitive game mode arena, and they've gotten it. So they got their money's worth in terms of arena, getting that advantage. So outside of arena, the thing that I actually care about most with Elrond and the Rivendell team is PvE, and specifically raids. And I think they're going to be a killer raid team. I think they're going to be really, really good in raids. And I'm not just sort of basing that on nothing because we don't know a lot of details about the raid, but their current, the way they go through the current PvE like content in the game it's so easy. Everything I do with Elrond and the Rivendell elves is a breeze, which I guess makes sense considering Vilya, his ring of power, is the ring of air. Anyway, everything, I've never even gotten close to dying with my Rivendell team in any of the PvE content. So what I like about that is that if this is going to be a good raid team, which I'm strongly expecting it to be, and then I will be able to get more resources for myself. And in that way, I'm going to be able to start doing more fun projects and not just have to dedicate resources to my arena team and my light and shadow teams, right? And that's what I actually like about these types of games, is doing those sort of fun projects, those weird niche things that make things work. I think a lot of people enjoy that about these types of games, right? So in that way, Elrond is going to help me get there. To be clear, though, we don't exactly know whether he's going to be good in raids. So maybe I'll do a follow-up video, a part 2 worth the whale, once raids come out, and we can figure out whether he was really worth it and got the full potential. Because I specifically put money into this character because I thought it was going to be a good raid character. So again, going back to it being a bet, we'll see if that bet pays off or I look like an idiot. So for me personally, I think this is probably worth the whale. It put me into a competitive place in the arena. I'm expecting it to do very well for raids and then give me more resources in the future down the line. And, you know, I guess I can call myself a content creator for this game. And so being able to show this off to you all is part of that as well. But let's kind of change our focus and point of view here. And if you are a free-to-play or a light spender, a dolphin, would this be worth it to you? And to get him the first time around, I still think the answer might be it depends or no. If you don't spend a lot of money on this game, this might not be the best way to spend your money. It's pretty costly. I did it, what I think was an average cost is about $200. That's a lot of money and shouldn't be taken lightly, right? So I think if you're free to play or light spender, this is not an expense that's worth it. He's going to come back around eventually, and going forward into the game, we're going to figure out how the game developers really want to position legendaries within this game and how good they're going to be in different game modes and what we can sort of expect in the future from these types of legendary characters. If you spend money on the game, obviously definitely worth it. I'm not convinced 7 stars is worth it, but if you don't spend money on the game, or you spend a little money on the game, I actually don't think he's worth the whale. But let me know down in the comments what you think. I'm kind of curious to hear everybody else's perspective, genuinely. And maybe we can have a little bit of a conversation about, the free-to-play versus whale sort of mentality that always happens in these games. So basically, to summarize, I think if you spend money on the game, you got an arena team, but the flip side of that is that you have to keep dumping more and more resources into that team. And so it actually might not be giving you like net positive resources for this particular, thing. But I think it's also going to be a very good PvE and raid team, and that will help you much further down the line. And I think if you are a light spender or don't spend it all, definitely not worth getting the first time around. Just get your elves up so that the second time around you can get him and then make him part of your team. Thanks for watching.